The sun had only just begun to spill its golden light across the horizon when Mason zipped up his wetsuit and stepped into the gentle waves. The morning air was crisp, the water unusually calm, and the beach utterly deserted, exactly the way he liked it. For Mason, the ocean wasn't just a place. It was a language, a rhythm, a silent cathedral of ancient truths and unpredictable beauty. As a marine researcher and diver of 15 years, he had developed a keen eye for even the subtlest signs of disturbance below the surface. But that morning, nothing seemed off. In fact, it was one of the most serene days he had experienced all year. The coral reef he visited regularly had been vibrant and thriving, the fish abundant, and the only interruption in his otherwise meditative dive was a school of rays gliding majestically past his lens. Nature in its most cinematic form. He had surfaced with the kind of tranquil joy that only the ocean could provide, stripped off his fins, and began trudging through the shallows toward shore when he noticed a strange movement to his right. A flicker of gray skin, sleek and fast, slicing through the water just a few feet away. At first, he thought it might have been a seal or a wayward porpoise, but as the shape broke the surface again, he realized it was unmistakably a dolphin, a very young one. That in itself was strange. Baby dolphins, or calves, never wandered alone. They were always surrounded by their pod, protected, nurtured, and guided. But this one was alone, circling in a tight pattern near the shallows, squeaking and clicking with an urgency Mason had never quite heard before. He waded back in, eyes narrowed, instincts now sharp. The dolphin didn't flinch or swim away. In fact, it let him approach, allowed his hands to cradle its smooth body. It wasn't injured. There were no nets, no abrasions, no signs of stress. But its eyes, those large, unblinking eyes, looked into Mason with something eerie, something close to pleading. He'd worked with dolphins before, studied them, photographed them in their element, but he had never felt this sense of message, like the animal was trying desperately to show him something. Before he could react further, a scream rang out from the beach behind him. He whipped his head around, heart already leaping into his throat. A woman walking along the edge of the sand was pointing out to sea and screaming in horror. Mason turned and saw it. A long black dorsal fin rising silently through the water, not 20 feet away. The size, the angle, the way it cut through the surf like a stealth blade. A shark, a big one, and it was heading directly toward them. Mason didn't think. He dropped the dolphin and launched himself backward through the shallows, stumbling, slipping, heart pounding like a war drum. By the time he reached dry sand, he turned expecting to see the dolphin torn apart or the water stained red. But there was none of that. Instead, the dolphin was fine. Still alive. And what was worse, or perhaps more surreal, was that the shark hadn't attacked. It had slowed down, circling the dolphin without hostility. And then, out of the blue, another dolphin appeared. Then another shark. Then another dolphin. Mason watched, dumbfounded, as predators and prey swam side by side in an unnatural harmony that defied everything he knew about marine behavior. There was no panic, no blood, no territorial aggression. The animals didn't just tolerate each other, they swam in formation, together, as if they were all part of some synchronized migration or coded ritual. As more creatures arrived, sea turtles, manta rays, even a few eels slithering oddly close to the surface. Mason's wonder turned to dread. This wasn't chance. Something was causing this. And somehow, the baby dolphin knew. He spent the next several hours tracking the group by boat, his camera rig set up to document the strange alliance. He fed the drone underwater, filming the patterns, trying to decipher the behavior. The longer he watched, the more organized it seemed. The animals were being gently herded into a shallow basin that the tide had formed along a rocky bend in the coastline. The water was rising again, but none of the creatures fled. Instead, they stayed within the natural trap, calm, alert, waiting. For what? And why? The baby dolphin returned to him once more, circling his boat, leaping lightly, then clicking in fast bursts as if urging him to follow. He dropped his drone in again, and this time the footage chilled him to the core. There were divers down there. Two human figures in sleek black suits, using strobes and pulsing red lights to control the animal's direction. Not tagging, not monitoring. Controlling, shepherding, like ranchers. One of them pointed at the baby dolphin through his mask. Then, with terrifying grace, the diver swam toward it, arms outstretched. The dolphin didn't flee. It met him. The diver seized the dolphin and disappeared into the deeper trench of the basin. Mason followed by boat, riding parallel to the rock line, and finally spotted them again entering a narrow, hidden cove, one he had never noticed in all his years diving here. Inside, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A team of humans stood on the shore of the cove. They weren't scientists. They weren't marine biologists. They wore military-grade wetsuits and moved with clockwork precision. One of them took the baby dolphin from the water and placed it into a small holding pool carved into the stone. No restraints, no cages. But the message was clear. This wasn't rescue. It was capture. Mason sat frozen in his boat, hidden by a veil of rock and shadow. He dared not start the engine. He just watched, camera forgotten in his lap. Were they training dolphins? Using sharks? Controlling marine ecosystems? For what? Military testing? Deep-sea mining protection? Something darker? But none of those explanations matched what he had witnessed. These creatures hadn't been afraid. They had complied. Even the predators. And the baby dolphin. It had led him here. It had come for him. He wasn't supposed to be part of the story. But now, he knew too much. The ocean, vast and unknowable, had always protected its secrets. But today, one of those secrets reached out to him, through the eyes of a baby dolphin, and asked for something unthinkable, to bear witness. And Mason realized, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the cove darkened, that this wasn't just about marine life, or science, or survival. It was about control, about something beneath the surface of the world, intelligent and hidden, moving pieces like a game of chess. And now, they had shown themselves to him. And they knew that he had seen.